The camera flashes were relentless, strobing white light across the limestone facade of the Whitmore estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. Reporters pressed against the iron gates, shouting questions over each other, their voices blending into an incomprehensible roar. News vans lined the street, satellite dishes pointed skyward, broadcasting live as one of America's wealthiest families faced public humiliation. "Mr. Whitmore, is it true your daughter was involved with her tutor? How long has this relationship been going on? Did you approve of this relationship?" Inside the mansion study, James Whitmore stood at the window, his hands clenched behind his back, watching the media circus with barely controlled fury. His face was stone, his jaw tight enough to crack teeth. On the wall behind him hung portraits of 3 generations of Whitmores, men who had built fortunes in banking and real estate, men who had maintained their family's reputation through wars and recessions and scandals that would have destroyed lesser dynasties. Until now. "Get him out," James said without turning around, his voice low and deadly. "Get him out of my house. I want him gone. Now." 2 security guards flanked the study door. Between them stood Michael Oliver, 28 years old, wearing a simple button-down shirt and dark pants, his face pale but composed. He held a small box containing the few personal items he had kept in the tutor's study where he had worked for the past 8 months. His hands were steady, but his eyes held the shock of someone whose life had just imploded in real time. "Mr. Whitmore," Michael said quietly. "I need to explain." "You will explain nothing," James interrupted, turning to face him. His expression was cold rage tempered by the control of a man who had spent 40 years mastering boardrooms and political backrooms. "You were hired to teach my daughter mathematics and literature. Instead, you manipulated a 17-year-old girl, took advantage of your position of trust, and humiliated my family in front of the entire country. You are fortunate I am not having you arrested." "I did not manipulate anyone," Michael said, his voice remaining calm despite the accusation. "And Lily is 18, not 17. She—" "Do not say her name," James said, his voice dropping even lower. "You do not have the right to say her name. You were hired help. You were paid to do a job. And you betrayed every ounce of trust we placed in you." Michael's jaw tightened, but he did not respond. What could he say? The truth was too complicated for this moment, too nuanced for a man standing in front of cameras watching his carefully constructed world crack apart. The truth was that he had fallen in love with Lily Whitmore, and she had fallen in love with him, and now both of them would pay a price that would reshape the rest of their lives. "Escort him out," James told the security guards. "Use the service entrance. If any reporter gets a photograph or a statement, you are both fired." The guards moved forward. Michael allowed himself to be led from the study, down a back hallway, through the kitchen where staff members looked away as he passed, their faces carefully neutral. He had worked in this house for 8 months. Had become familiar with these hallways, these rooms. Had shared meals with the kitchen staff, had exchanged pleasantries with the housekeepers and gardeners. Now he was being removed like a criminal. The service entrance opened onto a narrow driveway hidden from the main gate by carefully landscaped hedges. A car waited, engine running, driver already in position. The security guards walked Michael to the car, their hands not quite touching him, but making clear he was not leaving of his own volition. Michael climbed into the back seat. The car pulled away immediately, circling around the estate's perimeter to exit through a side gate that would avoid the media. Through the tinted windows, Michael caught a glimpse of Lily's bedroom window on the 2nd floor. The curtains were drawn, but he knew she was there, knew she was watching or had been watching, knew she was experiencing her own version of this nightmare. He had tried to protect her. Had tried to resign 2 months ago when he realized what was happening between them, when the friendship and intellectual connection had shifted into something deeper, something dangerous. But Lily had convinced him to stay, had promised they could keep it professional, had looked at him with those brilliant green eyes, and he had been unable to walk away. Now he was being driven away anyway, but under circumstances so much worse than if he had simply quit. His name would be in every newspaper by morning. His reputation destroyed. His career in education finished before it really began. And Lily was inside that mansion, trapped in the life she had been trying to escape, the walls closing in tighter than ever before. The car turned onto the main road, leaving the Whitmore estate behind. Michael leaned his head back against the seat and closed his eyes, trying to process what had just happened, how a single photograph had managed to destroy everything in less than 12 hours. But to understand how that photograph came to exist, how a billionaire's daughter and her tutor ended up in a forbidden romance that would cost them both more than either could have imagined, we need to go back 9 months. To a cold February afternoon when Michael Oliver first walked through the gates of the Whitmore estate. By the way, please let me know in the comment section where you are watching from, and please subscribe for more intriguing stories like this on this channel. Michael had not wanted the job. He was working 3 positions already, teaching English at a community college in Stamford, tutoring high school students in the evenings, and grading papers for a professor at Yale on weekends. The money was barely enough to cover his studio apartment and student loan payments from his graduate degree in comparative literature, but it was honest work and it aligned with his values. He wanted to teach, wanted to help students discover the power of language and critical thinking. When the tutoring agency called with an offer from the Whitmore family, offering triple his usual rate to provide one-on-one instruction to their daughter, Michael's first instinct was to refuse. He did not want to work for billionaires, did not want to enter that world of privilege and entitlement. But his student loans were crushing him. His car had just died and needed repairs he could not afford. And the agency representative mentioned that Lily Whitmore was struggling academically not because she lacked intelligence, but because she was, in the representative's careful words, not being challenged in the right ways. That intrigued Michael. A student who was struggling not from lack of ability but from lack of engagement. That was a teaching challenge he understood. So on a cold Tuesday in February, Michael drove to Greenwich in his repaired but still struggling Honda Civic, passed through the gates of an estate that looked like something from a movie, and was led by a housekeeper to a study that was larger than his entire apartment. Lily Whitmore was waiting, seated at a mahogany desk, her arms crossed, her expression making clear she wanted to be anywhere but there. She was 17 years old, slim and pale with long dark hair and green eyes that looked simultaneously bored and defiant. She wore expensive casual clothes, jeans that probably cost more than Michael's monthly rent, and a cashmere sweater in deep blue. "Another tutor," she said as Michael entered. "How many is that now?" 4? 5. "I am Michael Oliver," he replied, setting his bag down and taking the seat across from her. "And I do not know how many tutors you have had before me. But I know you have a calculus exam in 2 weeks and a paper on the Great Gatsby due next month. So we should probably get started." Lily studied him with the assessing gaze of someone used to sizing up adults who wanted something from her. "You are younger than the others. How old are you?" 28. "How old are you?" 17. "But I will be 18 in 3 weeks. Congratulations. Now, shall we talk about limits and derivatives, or would you prefer to start with Scott Fitzgerald?" Lily's eyes narrowed slightly. "You do not want to know why I am failing calculus? Why I am barely passing English despite being, as everyone keeps telling me, very intelligent. I assume you will tell me if it is relevant," Michael said. "But right now, I am more interested in whether you understand the concept of a derivative and whether you have actually read The Great Gatsby or just the SparkNotes." For the first time, something flickered in Lily's expression. Not quite a smile, but a shift in the bored mask. "I read it. It was boring." "Why?" "Because nothing happens. Rich people have problems, rich people have affairs, someone dies, everyone is sad. Who cares? What if I told you it was not about rich people having problems, but about the American dream being a lie designed to keep poor people chasing something that does not exist?" Lily was quiet for a moment. "That is not what my English teacher said." "Your English teacher might be wrong. Or I might be wrong. Let us read it together and figure out which interpretation makes more sense." They worked for 2 hours that first day. Michael discovered that Lily was not struggling because she was unintelligent. She was struggling because she was bored out of her mind by standard curriculum, because she had been taught to memorize and regurgitate rather than think critically, because nobody had bothered to engage with her intellectually in years. She was also deeply, profoundly lonely. Michael saw it in the way she kept finding reasons to extend their sessions, asking additional questions not because she was confused, but because she wanted to keep talking. He saw it in how she lit up when discussing ideas, when debating interpretations, when someone treated her like an intellectual equal rather than a child to be managed. He saw it, and he made a decision that he would later question countless times. He decided to give her what she needed. Real teaching. Real engagement. Real respect for her intelligence and curiosity. He did not realize how dangerous that decision would be. Over the following weeks, Michael and Lily fell into a rhythm. He came to the estate 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday afternoons. They worked in the study, tackling calculus and literature with increasing sophistication. Lily's grades began to improve, not because Michael was teaching her tricks to ace tests, but because he was teaching her how to think, how to question, how to engage with material at a deeper level. But they began talking about more than just schoolwork. About books they loved, movies they had seen, ideas about art and philosophy, and what made life meaningful. Lily told Michael about the pressure of being James Whitmore's only child, the expectation that she would attend an Ivy League school, marry someone appropriate, eventually take over philanthropic responsibilities for the family foundation. She told him about the loneliness of growing up with tutors and staff instead of parents who were too busy building empires to build relationships with their daughter. Michael told Lily about growing up as the son of immigrants from Taiwan, about his parents' restaurant in Flushing, Queens, about working there every afternoon after school while his friends played sports and went to parties. He told her about being the first in his family to go to college, about the pressure of that expectation, about choosing literature instead of law or medicine, and watching his parents struggle to understand why he would pursue a career with no guaranteed financial security. They were, in many ways, from completely different worlds. Lily had grown up with every material advantage, but little emotional connection. Michael had grown up with economic struggle, but close family bonds. Yet they found common ground in their shared sense of not quite fitting into the paths laid out for them. The tutoring sessions stretched longer. 2 hours became 3. 3 became 4. They started taking breaks to walk around the estate grounds, Lily showing Michael the gardens and stables, the pool house and tennis courts. Michael felt uncomfortable in this display of wealth, but he was drawn to Lily, to her intelligence and her hunger for real conversation. It was Lily who first suggested they work outside on nice days, spreading textbooks on the lawn, Lily lying on her stomach while Michael sat cross-legged beside her, both of them laughing when the wind scattered their papers. It was Lily who started sharing her favorite music with him, playing songs on her phone, watching his reaction, debating whether lyrics mattered more than melody. It was Lily who slowly, subtly, began transforming their relationship from teacher-student into something that resembled friendship, though neither of them acknowledged it explicitly. And Michael, who should have recognized the danger, who should have maintained clearer boundaries, found himself looking forward to their sessions in ways that had nothing to do with curriculum and everything to do with the bright, funny, deeply thoughtful person Lily was beneath the privilege and loneliness. He told himself it was harmless. She was 17. He was her tutor. There was nothing inappropriate happening. They were just 2 people who enjoyed talking to each other. That was all. But he was lying to himself, and somewhere deep down, he knew it. The shift happened in April, the week Lily turned 18. Her birthday was a massive affair, a party at the estate with 200 guests, live music, catering that probably cost more than Michael earned in a year. Lily had invited him, but he declined, maintaining the professional boundary that was becoming increasingly difficult to define. But the day after her birthday, during their regular Thursday session, Lily was different. More confident. More direct. She looked at Michael differently, or maybe he was just noticing what had been there all along but he had been refusing to see. They were discussing The Catcher in the Rye, talking about Holden Caulfield's alienation, his inability to connect authentically with the world around him. Lily had written a brilliant essay arguing that Holden's tragedy was not his cynicism, but his desperate need for genuine human connection in a world of phoniness. "You understand him," Michael said, setting down her essay. "You see what Salinger was trying to say about loneliness and authenticity." "I understand him because I am him," Lily said quietly. "Everything in my life is performance. School is performance. Family dinners are performance. Charity events are performance. Even my friends, the ones my father approves of, those friendships are performance. I cannot remember the last time I had a conversation that felt real before you started teaching me." Michael felt something twist in his chest. "Lily, you treat me like a person," she continued, her eyes fixed on his. "Not like James Whitmore's daughter. Not like someone who needs to be managed or impressed. Just like a person who has thoughts worth hearing. Do you know how rare that is in my life?" "That is just basic respect," Michael said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Everyone deserves that. But nobody gives it to me except you." The air in the study felt thick suddenly, charged with something Michael did not want to name. He stood up, creating physical distance, looking out the window at the manicured grounds. "We should get back to Salinger," he said. "You have a test on Monday." "Michael," Lily said, and the way she said his name, soft and certain, made him close his eyes. "Look at me." He turned. She was standing now too, her expression open in a way it had never been before, vulnerable and brave simultaneously. "I am 18 now," she said. "Legally an adult. I graduate in 6 weeks. I will be at Princeton in the fall." This tutoring arrangement was only supposed to last until graduation anyway. "Where are you going with this?" Michael asked, though he knew. He knew, and his heart was racing, and every professional instinct was screaming at him to leave, to walk out, to end this before it became something they could not take back. "I am going," Lily said carefully, "to the observation that we are not actually tutor and student anymore. We are two adults who happen to enjoy each other's company. And that in 6 weeks, when I graduate, there will be no professional relationship to maintain. No ethical boundary to protect. Lily, I work for your father. I am in his home 3 times a week because he pays me to teach you. That is a power dynamic we cannot ignore. So quit," Lily said simply. "Stop working for my father. Stop being my tutor. And then there is no power dynamic. Just 2 people who like each other." Michael stared at her, feeling the weight of the decision she was asking him to make. Quit the highest-paying position he had ever had. Walk away from income he desperately needed. And for what? For a relationship with an 18-year-old girl from a completely different world, a relationship that would face impossible obstacles even if they tried to make it work. It was insane. It was career suicide. It was every kind of bad idea. But when Michael looked at Lily, at the hope and fear mixed in her expression, at this brilliant, lonely girl who had become the person he looked forward to seeing most in his week, he felt something shift inside him. Some defense he had been maintaining crumbled, and the truth he had been avoiding forced its way to the surface. He cared about her. Not as a student. Not as someone he was professionally responsible for. As a person. As Lily. And that caring had shifted, slowly and then suddenly, into something deeper, something that made his heart race and his judgment questionable and his life infinitely more complicated. "I cannot quit," Michael said finally. "I need this job. My student loans are crushing me. Without this income, I will be in serious financial trouble." "Then we wait," Lily said. 6 more weeks. Until graduation. Then you quit, and there is no ethical problem. There is still the problem of your father. Of your family. Of the world you come from, and the world I come from. Lily, even if we waited until graduation, even if I quit, this would never work. Your father would destroy me for being involved with you. And you would lose your family, your support, everything. That is too high a price." "Maybe it is," Lily said. "Or maybe some things are worth the price. But we will not know unless we try. Michael should have said no. Should have walked out of that study and never returned. Should have protected both of them from what was coming. But he was 28 years old and lonely in his own way, and Lily Whitmore had somehow become the most important person in his life, despite every reason that should have prevented it. 6 weeks, he said quietly. We wait 6 weeks. We maintain complete professionalism. And then, after graduation, after I quit, we figure out if this is real or if it is just proximity and timing and two lonely people finding each other in unusual circumstances. Lily smiled, and it transformed her face, made her look simultaneously younger and more mature. Deal. They shook hands, formal and ridiculous given what they had just agreed to. Then Lily laughed, and Michael laughed, and the tension broke into something lighter. But underneath the laughter was the knowledge that they had just made a choice that would have consequences neither of them could fully anticipate. They had acknowledged what was happening between them. They had agreed to pursue it. They had stepped over a line that would reshape both their lives in ways they would spend years trying to understand. The next 6 weeks were torture of the sweetest kind. Michael and Lily maintained strict professionalism during their sessions. They studied calculus and literature. They prepared for her final exams. They avoided physical contact, avoided long gazes, avoided anything that could be interpreted as inappropriate by the staff members who occasionally passed through the study. But underneath the professional veneer, everything had changed. Every word carried double meaning. Every shared smile felt like a secret. The anticipation built like pressure in a closed system, both of them counting down the days until graduation, until Michael could quit, until they could stop pretending there was nothing between them. Lily's father noticed the improvement in her grades. Whatever you are doing, Mr. Oliver, it is working, James Whitmore told Michael during one of their rare interactions. Lily's teachers tell me she is actually engaged in class for the first time in years. Her SAT scores improved significantly. You have earned your fee. Michael felt sick accepting the praise, knowing he was hiding something massive from the man who had hired him, trusted him, brought him into his home. But he told himself it would be fine. 6 weeks. Then he would quit. Then there would be no deception, no betrayal of trust. He was wrong about that, but he would not realize how wrong until much later. Lily graduated on a sunny afternoon in early June. Michael attended the ceremony, sitting in the back with other family, friends, and staff, watching Lily walk across the stage to receive her diploma. She looked beautiful in her white graduation gown, looked confident and accomplished and ready for the next chapter of her life. After the ceremony, there was a party at the estate. Michael stayed for an hour, maintaining his role as the tutor who had helped Lily succeed, accepting congratulations from Lily's mother Catherine and polite acknowledgement from James. Then he left, driving back to his apartment in Stamford with his heart racing. The next morning, he composed a letter of resignation. Dear Mr. Whitmore, with Lily's graduation, my tutoring services are no longer needed. It has been a privilege to work with your daughter and to contribute to her academic success. I wish her all the best at Princeton and in her future endeavors. Sincerely, Michael Oliver. He hand-delivered the letter to the estate that afternoon, leaving it with the housekeeper rather than requesting a meeting with James. He wanted clean separation, quick and professional. No drawn-out conversations about why he was leaving or whether he might consider tutoring Lily during college breaks. Lily texted him that evening, "My father accepted your resignation. You are officially no longer my tutor." Michael replied, "Does that mean I can take you to dinner?" "Yes, tomorrow night, but not in Greenwich. Somewhere nobody knows who I am." They met at a small Italian restaurant in Stamford, a place Michael had been wanting to try but could never afford on his budget. Lily insisted on paying, which made Michael uncomfortable, but which he accepted because arguing about it seemed pointless when she was carrying a credit card with no limit and he was trying to make his checking account last until his next community college paycheck. The dinner was perfect and awkward and thrilling. They talked about everything they had been holding back during the tutoring sessions. Lily's plans for Princeton. Michael's hopes of one day teaching at a university. Their shared love of obscure indie films and overanalyzing song lyrics. Lily ordered wine, which she was now legally allowed to drink, and Michael declined because he could not afford to lose focus, could not afford to make any mistakes when. The dinner was perfect and awkward and thrilling. They talked about everything they had been holding back during the tutoring sessions. Lily's plans for Princeton. Michael's hopes of one day teaching at a university. Their shared love of obscure indie films and overanalyzing song lyrics. Lily ordered wine, which she was now legally allowed to drink, and Michael declined because he could not afford to lose focus, could not afford to make any mistakes when this was just beginning. At the end of the evening, walking Lily back to her car parked 2 blocks away, Michael took her hand. It was the first time they had touched beyond professional handshakes, and the contact felt electric, significant in ways that seemed absurd for such a simple gesture. "This is real, right?" Lily asked quietly. "This is not just me projecting because you were kind to me when nobody else was?" "It is real," Michael said. "I have no idea how we make it work, given who your father is and what he will think when he finds out. But it is real." They stood beside Lily's BMW, a car worth more than Michael would earn in 2 years of teaching, and the class difference felt impossible to ignore. But then Lily kissed him, soft and brief and full of promise, and for a moment the impossibility did not matter. "We will figure it out," Lily said. Together. For 3 months, they tried to figure it out. They met in secret, always in places outside Greenwich, always careful to avoid anyone who might recognize Lily and report back to her father. Restaurants in Stamford and New Haven. Coffee shops where college students studied. A small art house cinema that showed foreign films and asked no questions about who was sitting together in the dark. Lily told her parents she was spending time with friends from her graduating class, which was technically true since she did maintain some of those friendships as cover. Michael told no one about the relationship, not his colleagues at the community college or his parents in Queens, knowing that explaining how he met the daughter of a billionaire would raise questions he could not comfortably answer. The relationship was everything Michael had not known he wanted. Lily was brilliant and funny and insatiably curious about the world beyond her privileged bubble. She wanted to know about Michael's life, his family, his experiences growing up working class in New York. She read books he recommended with genuine interest. She debated ideas with him for hours, challenging his interpretations, defending her own analysis with arguments that showed just how sharp her mind was when actually engaged. But the relationship was also constrained by constant fear of discovery. They could not hold hands in public, could not post photos on social media, could not be seen together anywhere Lily's family friends might frequent. The secrecy added intensity, but also stress, the constant awareness that they were hiding something that would explode if revealed. In August, 2 weeks before Lily was scheduled to leave for Princeton, she told Michael she wanted him to meet her family properly, not as her former tutor, but as someone important in her life. "I am tired of hiding," Lily said. They were sitting in Michael's studio apartment, one of the few places they could be themselves without worry. "I am 18. I am an adult. I should be able to date who I want without sneaking around like we are doing something wrong. I am dating the daughter of a billionaire who hired me to tutor you," Michael said. "Your father will see that as a massive betrayal of trust. He will think I manipulated you, that I used my position of authority to pursue you inappropriately. But you did not. We waited until after graduation. You quit your job. We did everything right. Lily, your father will not care about technicalities. He will care that the man he hired to teach his daughter ended up dating her. That is going to look terrible regardless of the timeline. So what, we just keep hiding forever? I go to Princeton and we see each other in secret for 4 years? Then what? Eventually we will have to tell people." Michael did not have a good answer. She was right that the secrecy could not last indefinitely. But he also knew, with increasing certainty, that revealing their relationship to James Whitmore would end catastrophically. "Let me finish my first semester at Princeton," Lily proposed. "Let me get settled, prove I am doing well academically. Then over Christmas break, I will tell my parents about us. Once they see I am thriving at school, They will be more likely to accept that this relationship is not some distraction or rebellion. It was naive, and Michael knew it. But he did not have a better plan, and Lily's certainty was compelling. So he agreed. The plan lasted exactly 2 more weeks before everything fell apart. Lily's father had hired a private investigator. Not specifically to follow Lily, but as part of routine security protocol for the family. The investigator had been documenting Lily's movements all summer, a precaution James took after a previous kidnapping threat against wealthy families in Connecticut. The investigator had photographed Lily and Michael together multiple times. At the Italian restaurant in June. At a bookstore in July. Walking together through a park in August. The investigator had reported these meetings to James, who had initially assumed Michael was continuing to help Lily prepare for college, perhaps tutoring her informally as a favor. But one photograph was different. It was taken on a Wednesday evening in late August. Lily and Michael sitting in his parked car outside his apartment building. The windows were fogged. The photograph, taken with a telephoto lens from across the street, showed Lily and Michael kissing, Lily's hand on Michael's face, Michael's hand in her hair, both of them clearly lost in the moment. The photograph was on James Whitmore's desk when Lily came home that evening. He was waiting for her in his study, the photograph laid out like evidence in a trial, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Explain this," James said when Lily entered. Lily looked at the photograph, felt her stomach drop, felt the world tilt. "Where did you get that?" "I have had security following you all summer. Standard protocol. Now explain to me why you are kissing the man I hired to educate you." Lily could have lied. Could have claimed it was a recent development, that it started after the tutoring ended. But she was tired of lying, tired of hiding, and some part of her believed that honesty might actually help. "I am dating Michael," she said, lifting her chin. "We started seeing each other after I graduated and he quit. There is nothing inappropriate about it. I am 18. He is not my tutor anymore. We are 2 adults in a relationship." "He was your tutor for 8 months, James said, his voice dangerously quiet. "He was in my home, paid by my money, trusted with my daughter. And he used that access to pursue a relationship with you." "It was not like that," Lily protested. "Nothing happened while he was my tutor. We waited until after graduation. We did everything properly." "You hid it from me." "He hid it from me." "That is not doing things properly, Lily. That is deception. Because we knew you would react like this. We knew you would not try to understand, would not listen to the fact that we care about each other." James stood up, walked to where Lily stood, and looked at her with an expression she had never seen before. Not anger, but something colder. Disappointment laced with calculation. "You are my only child," he said quietly. "Everything I have built, every decision I have made, has been partly about securing your future. Your education, your social connections, your eventual marriage to someone appropriate who can help maintain our family's position. Do you understand what you are throwing away by involving yourself with a community college teacher who earns poverty wages? He is not just a teacher. He is intelligent and kind, and he treats me like a person instead of an investment. He is someone who saw an opportunity and took it," James said flatly. "A poor man who recognized that my daughter was lonely and vulnerable and who exploited that loneliness for his own benefit. Men like him do not love women like you, Lily. They love what you represent. The wealth. The connections. The life you can provide them." "That is not true," Lily said, tears building now. "You do not know him. You do not know anything about our relationship." "I know enough," James said. "And this ends tonight. You will not see Michael Oliver again. You will go to Princeton in 2 weeks as planned. You will focus on your education and your future. And you will forget about this inappropriate relationship with a man who has hired help." "I am 18, Lily said. "You cannot tell me who I can or cannot see." "You are 18 and living in my house and attending college on my money," James corrected. "If you want to make your own decisions about relationships, you can move out, pay your own tuition, and support yourself. Otherwise, you will follow my rules. Do you understand?" Lily stared at her father, seeing clearly for the first time the cage she had always lived in but had never fully acknowledged. The money, the comfort, the opportunities, they all came with strings attached. Her father had been pulling those strings her entire life, and she had never realized it until now, until she had something she wanted that contradicted his plans. "I understand," Lily said quietly. "I understand that you do not care what I want. You only care about maintaining your perfect family image. What I care about," James said, his voice hardening, "is protecting you from making catastrophic mistakes that will ruin your life. You will thank me for this someday." Lily turned and left the study, running up to her room, her phone already out to warn Michael. But when she tried to call, it went straight to voicemail. She tried texting. The messages showed as delivered, but got no response. She did not know yet that her father's security team was already at Michael's apartment. Did not know that Michael was being threatened with legal action if he attempted to contact Lily again. Did not know that her father was already making calls, using his influence to ensure Michael Oliver's name was blacklisted from every private tutoring agency, every prestigious school, every position where he might interact with students from wealthy families. Lily did not know any of this as she sat in her bedroom, crying and waiting for Michael to respond to her messages. She would not hear from him for 3 weeks. Michael's door had been knocked on at 11 p.m. that same night. 2 men in suits, both ex-law enforcement, both carrying the kind of presence that suggested they were very good at intimidation. "Michael Oliver," one asked when Michael opened the door. "Yes, we work for James Whitmore. We need to have a conversation." Michael felt ice flood through his veins. "About what?" "About you staying away from his daughter. About you understanding that any further contact will result in legal consequences. About you recognizing that you are out of your depth and that the smart thing to do is walk away." They pushed into his apartment without being invited, closing the door behind them. Michael felt his heart racing, but forced himself to stay calm. "I have not done anything illegal," Michael said. "Lily is 18. We started dating after I quit my position as her tutor. There is nothing. Mr. Whitmore has evidence that suggests the relationship started while you were still employed by him," one man interrupted. "Inappropriate conduct with a minor. Breach of trust. Sexual exploitation of a student. That is how it will be framed if you do not walk away voluntarily. She was not a minor when we started dating. And I never exploited. The court of public opinion does not care about technicalities, Mr. Oliver. What people will hear is that a tutor seduced his billionaire student. That story will follow you forever. No school will hire you. No tutoring agency will work with you. Your career in education is over if Mr. Whitmore decides to make this public." Michael felt the walls closing in. What does he want? Complete cessation of contact with Lily Whitmore. No calls, no texts, no emails, no attempts to see her. You disappear from her life as if you never existed. In return, Mr. Whitmore will not pursue legal action or publicly destroy your reputation. You walk away quietly and everyone moves on. And if I refuse? The second man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then you will wish you had not refused. Mr. Whitmore has resources you cannot imagine. Lawyers, investigators, connections in every institution that matters. He can make your life very, very difficult. Or he can let you continue your quiet little life teaching community college and grading papers. Your choice. Michael wanted to fight. Wanted to tell these men to get out of his apartment. Wanted to call Lily and tell her what was happening. Wanted to stand up to the billionaire who thought he could control everyone with money and threats. But he was also 28 years old with $80,000 in student loan debt and no family wealth to fall back on. He was one person against an empire. And if James Whitmore destroyed his reputation, Michael would lose everything. Not just the ability to see Lily, but his entire career, his livelihood, his future. "I want to talk to Lily," Michael said. "I want to explain this to her myself." "No contact," the first man repeated. "Those are the terms. Non-negotiable. This is not fair to her. She deserves to know. What she deserves is to go to Princeton without distractions. To have the opportunities her father has provided. To build a life with people from her own world. You care about her? Then let her go. Let her have the future she was meant to have instead of dragging her down into your life of financial struggle and limited opportunity. The words stung because they contained truth Michael did not want to acknowledge. What could he offer Lily? A studio apartment? Community college teaching salary? A life where every vacation and dinner out required careful budgeting? Lily had grown up with everything. Could she really be happy with someone who had so little? But she had chosen him. Had said she did not care about the money. Had insisted their connection mattered more than material comfort. Except now Michael would never know if that was true, because he was being forced to make a choice. Protect himself or fight for a relationship that might be doomed anyway. I need time to think, Michael said. You have until morning, one man said. After that, Mr. Whitmore will assume you have refused his offer and will proceed accordingly. Choose wisely, Mr. Oliver. They left. Michael stood in his tiny apartment, surrounded by books and papers and the modest evidence of a life built through hard work and student debt, and tried to figure out what to do. He thought about calling Lily, warning her. But he knew her father would be monitoring her phone. Knew that any contact would be used as evidence of Michael's unwillingness to comply. He thought about fighting. Getting a lawyer, challenging James Whitmore's threats. But he could not afford a lawyer capable of standing up to billionaire resources. And even if he could, the scandal would destroy both of them. Lily would lose her family, her support, her opportunities. Michael would lose his career. And for what? A 3-month relationship that might not survive the pressure anyway? Michael sat on his small couch until dawn, staring at his phone, looking at Lily's last text. Are you okay? Please call me. He typed and deleted a dozen responses. Finally, he composed something that felt both true and cowardly. Your father knows about us. He has made it clear that continuing this relationship will have consequences for both of us that neither of us can afford. I care about you too much to let you sacrifice your future for me. Go to Princeton. Have the life you were meant to have. I am sorry I cannot be part of it. He did not send it. He knew if he sent it, Lily would fight. Would refuse to accept the breakup. Would make this harder for both of them. So instead, Michael blocked Lily's number. Blocked her on social media. Made himself unreachable. It was cruel, but it was also the only way he could think of to make the break complete enough that she would eventually move on. He told himself it was for her benefit. That he was protecting her from a difficult choice. That sometimes love meant letting go even when you desperately did not want to. But mostly, if Michael was honest with himself, he was terrified. Terrified of James Whitmore's power. Terrified of losing everything he had worked for. Terrified of being destroyed by a billionaire who viewed him as disposable help that had overstepped. So Michael made the coward's choice. He disappeared from Lily's life without explanation, without goodbye, without giving her the chance to decide for herself what she wanted to sacrifice. It was the right decision for survival and the wrong decision for everything else. Michael would spend years wondering if he had made a mistake, if he had given up too easily, if true courage would have meant fighting for Lily despite the impossible odds. But in that moment, sitting in his apartment as dawn broke over Stamford, Connecticut, Michael blocked Lily Whitmore's number and chose self-preservation over love. Before we continue with the story, please tell me in the comments if you think Michael made the right choice.